Sometimes life throws you on stage before you're ready. In this moment, I had to trust something far greater than myself, and what happened next changed everything. But that was the moment that I remembered I'm not alone. And what I did is I called on the force of my spirit guide, Anya, and I literally put out a thought to her and I said, help me to come up with something that's inspiring and engaging. And what I did is I stepped aside and allowed my guide to come through and to blend with me and to be able to transmit a message. So I was standing on stage at one of the biggest festivals that I've ever spoken at. And the MC comes walking up to me at the end of my speech and says, "You've got 15 minutes to make something up." And in that moment, my heart started pounding. I had rehearsed what I was going to present. I had my introduction. I had my really beautiful connecting story that allowed me to share the wisdom and the magic of learning Reiki. And then what I had to do is lean on my connection to my spirit guide in real time to harness the energy to get through what was my biggest fear. So I don't know if you've ever been afraid of public speaking. I have heard that it's one of, for the majority of people, it's one of the things they fear the most. And as someone who actually loves engaging with an audience, I love speaking, don't worry, I get all of the same fears and insecurities that you might think would come up for you when you're standing in front of an audience, especially an audience of people that you don't know. So I'll take you a little bit back to the story and how I came to be standing on stage in front of a massive audience and having nothing to say. So we go backwards in time a little bit. It was at Secrets in the Garden, which was a women's festival, and they had speakers' tents. So there was about 5 from memory, all set up. All the speakers spoke in their tents at the same time. Then there was about a 15-minute break. And what would happen is people had a schedule. They knew the different speakers that were on stage, what their topic was. And then throughout the day, the audience would literally move from one tent to the other. And then they'd be engaging and taking on, the amazing talks. I think we had Michelle Bridges there and Ida Buttrose, and there were some amazing keynote presenters. And to be a part of this festival was such a big opportunity for me. And I had planned it months in advance. I knew pretty much word for word what my talk was going to be about. So this is the difference is there's things that challenge you and come up that you can't always plan for. And this is certainly what happened for me. So the MC, I'd been mic'd up. I had my PowerPoint ready to go. There was a big television screen. I had my signs for the business behind me. And the audience, there wasn't many people in the tent. And I just kind of thought, maybe they're not that interested in what I'm speaking about. So part of me was kind of relieved when I started talking to know that there was probably only about 50 people in the audience at that time. Little did I know the reason there was only 50 people in the audience instead of 250 was because the MC called me on stage 15 minutes earlier than I was scheduled to speak, earlier than the schedule that the whole audience members had received. My talk was due to start, I think it was about 11 a.m. and he got me in at 10:45 and got me up and started talking. Now, the problem for me was that I didn't check the time because I was by that stage in full speaker mode. I was preparing, I was trying to do everything I could to calm down my nerves. And when the MC said it's time, I just jumped straight on stage and did my thing. So what started happening is I'm connecting with the audience. I'm really comfortable with them by this stage. There's an initial fear that sets in when you start speaking, where your heart pounds and you think you're going to die. And then within a few deep breaths, you feel the warmth from the audience and your knowledge kicks in and you start to feel more comfortable. So I knew there was, a little bit of time in the beginning, and then my nerves would settle, which they did. So as I'm starting to really build the energy with the audience, I can feel them leaning in, and I'm sharing my real turning point story where Reiki had a massive impact on my life. And I'm right at that moment, I'm literally just starting to feel the energy of what had happened to me that changed my life dramatically. And as I'm feeling the tears coming up, as I'm sharing that story and I'm pulling it back, I start noticing the energy shifting in the room, and people start walking into the talk. And so I'm having to coordinate like massive amounts of people coming in. And there I am already halfway through my talk, and then having to kind of work out on the fly how to greet people coming in. I'm in the middle of my turning point story, which if you're a speaker, that's the key moment when people really get to know who you are. It's that vulnerable sharing. It's how, in my case, it was my Reiki modality, how it changed my life. And it was about a story. If you've followed me for a while, it was about my daughter who received burns, and how I used Reiki to help her. And also how that experience planted in my heart a desire to learn how to trust my intuition. So here I was adapting, feeling the panic and just going, just get through the talk. It's okay. More people are coming in. Great. So I just keep proceeding through my talk. I get to the end. I share with them how I can help them, and, to go to the back of the table, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And then the MC runs over to me, whispers in my ear and says, "Lisa, I got you on too early. I'm so sorry, but you have to talk for another 15 minutes. And I'm just like, oh, he said, just make something up. I'm like, worst fear ever coming true. But that was the moment that I remembered I'm not alone. And what I did is I called on the force of my spirit guide, Anya, and I literally put out a thought to her and I said, help me to come up with something that's inspiring and engaging. And what I did is I stepped aside and allowed my guide to come through and to blend with me and to be able to transmit a message. And what she did as she came through was she guided them into a relaxation, grounding meditation. And it was amazing. I didn't know what she was going to say or how it was going to go. I just trusted. I'm a conscious channel. So when my guide comes in, it's like I step aside, I feel her energy, I get this surge of power. It's like my energy gets 10x'd. And there's no anxiety. Like when Anya steps in, I just feel like the most confident, secure, grounded version of, I guess, an adapted version of myself, because I'm present with her. I'm not an unconscious channel. I'm with her. So it feels like a blending is probably the best way to describe it. So what she does is she starts communicating through me to the audience. We didn't announce that I was a channel. We didn't announce that she was going to come in and speak and that someone else was kind of working through me. This was a cold audience, and they were, more executive women, so more business women, probably not that spiritual, though many of them were open to spirituality, and there was a few other spiritual speakers. So she didn't, I didn't pretty much announce, hang on, I'm going to let my guide come through and talk to you. We just did it. And what was amazing was and I'm only going from memory because it was a few years ago. So as she started doing the guided meditation, I'm pretty sure I started seeing people laying down. Like as she started to bring the meditation through. A couple of them laid down, just got really comfortable. Some stayed sitting. There was a few standing at the back of the room, but most of them had kind of taken a seat on the grass. And she starts talking about energy and about grounding, and she's guiding them through to kind of receive this healing energy that she's amplifying through my body, through to the audience. And then she talks about the grounding benefit of nature. And just as she's talking about nature, on cue, like you could not make this stuff up, guys, on cue, this wind, this powerful wind comes whipping through the tent, and it literally like a mini tornado, probably exaggerating, but it came through. It was strong enough And it was as she commanded the energy, the wind came through, knocked both of my signs over behind me. And they were big, banners. They went boom, that one went down, that one went down. The energies, I could feel the wind like move through the audience, and then it kind of came around me through and then back out the back end of the tent. And I was just like, oh my God, that's cool. So I don't know if there was anyone that was actually at that talk. It was the Secrets in the Garden event. Please let me know, because I know some of you guys are still following me from that experience. I would love to hear if anyone else remembers that experience. But I know from standing in the front of the room, the key takeaway points are when you go into something that you're a little afraid of, and all growth comes from fear, right? We're always stepping into something that is bigger than what we feel we're ready for. That's the place you want to be. That's where the transformation takes place. When you learn how to channel, when you learn how to connect to high level guidance, you never walk alone again a day in your life. So I was nervous about getting on and just sharing and speaking to you directly today on my podcast. I'm doing it slightly different after an amazing training that I had with the incredible Carmen Braidwood. She's a speaker, and she just said, have a framework, just get on camera, start talking. So I was always worried about waffling too much, because I have a tendency as a natural talker to sometimes not know how to get to the point of my story. So in the past of the podcast, just being totally vulnerable, I would share my stories and I would work with AI to kind of script it out, and I would read. But as she shared with me, it's not as engaging, and people can tell when you're reading. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be me, show up, and all the mistakes that I'm going to make, I'm just going to chuck them in the podcast so that you get the real unfiltered version of me showing up now for you on the podcast. So I hope you love it. Let me know in the comments where I share this on socials, or just reach out, send me a message, follow the podcast and share your support, and I'll keep doing it this way. There is nothing more empowering than knowing that you work with a benevolent team of spirit beings and healing beings. They can amplify incredible energy for yourself first and foremost, and then it's like a superpower to be able to have more effective communications in business, but also as a wellness practitioner, in your readings, in your sessions, in your healing sessions. It is a superpower, and one that I know transforms your life. It literally transforms your life when you learn how to channel. It brings confidence and a real sense of security and peace, and so many more things. Beautiful, vulnerable relationships that come from having this kind of lent out confidence in yourself. So if you would like to learn more about how I can help you to become a confident channel, I'll put some details below in the show notes. Reach out. I've got a few courses and opportunities coming up. Love to hear from you. Connect, say hi, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care, guy. Find a 30-second section where Lisa shares a personal realization or emotional truth that captures the essence of the episode. It should feel like the listener is being let into something real and profound,